Kobe Bryant played his entire career in a Laker jersey, and Larry Bird retired on the parquet floor. I did see Clyde Drexler win a championship in a Rockets jersey, but granted, that was towards the end of his career. And now today, for the very first time, we will sit back and watch Damian Lillard playing for his new team, the Milwaukee Bucks, against his first team, the Portland Trail Blazers. How crazy is that? Well, good morning, my friends, wherever you may be. This is Blazers Game Day. I am your host, Chad Doing, along with my partner, Chrris Burkhardt, where today the Trailblazers start a 5-game road trip in Milwaukee against Damian Lillard and the Bucks. Tip-off is coming up at 12:30. I am with you until 11:30 in what has been a very wild weekend of sports, especially here in the Northwest. One team is on the verge of playing for a national championship. One team is mourning the loss of their son. And the Trailblazers are getting ready for action against one of the best players in their franchise's history. We're going to hear from Dame and his thoughts here in a moment. But first things first, we got to take a look back at what took place in their last game on Wednesday night, which allowed the Blazers to get off the schneid and snap an 8-game losing streak in what was, by far, their best offensive performance of the season.
Slides into the corner for Thibault, all the way around to the wing for Grant. 3 around the way, buries it. 30 points for Jeremy Grant. 23rd time in his career that he has hit 30 or more. And the second time this season, 114-82. Blazers lead by 32.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant continues his hot stretch and really answering the call and the request from the coaches over the last couple of weeks to be more aggressive, to be more of a ball hog and really pick up the scoring with Anthony Simons out of the lineup, and he did that on Wednesday night. 30 points, a game high, 10 of 13 from the floor, and he was 5 of 6 from downtown. So Jeremy Grant was the Blazers' meal ticket. But how about the youngster Jabari Walker, a second-round pick last year, really starting to come into his own thanks to his hard work and dedication throughout the course of the offseason and his attention to detail in practice, which is placing a demand on the coaches to find ways to get him into games.
Scoot gets it back along the baseline, steps through again, and kicks to Walker for 3 on the way. Buries it. Jabari Walker from downtown. Timeout Utah as the Blazers now lead this one by 13. 25-12.
Yeah, the night would go on, and Walker would continue to forward in.
Now to Mays. Ball fake. Rifles a pass on the cut by Rupert. No good. Walker, rebound, double-double. Put back good. Career-high points, career-high rebounds, career night for Jabari Walker.
It was pretty awesome. Jabari Walker, 19 points and 10 rebounds in the victory on Wednesday. He played 27 minutes. He was 8 of 15 from the floor and also 2 of 3 from downtown. He was Johnny on the spot, and after the game, Travis had a chance to catch up with him.
Jabari, congratulations on the win and a career-high 19 points, a career-high 10 rebounds. Just to get back on the winning track, you guys dominated tonight. How were you able to do it?
I think our energy changed. We watched the video, I think, before last game, and we just watched some of the best clips of the season of our defense, of our energy. And Chauncey just kind of reminded the team of what it looks like when we play good basketball. And the message was, we're a good team. We just played really good teams, and we just been missing a few things. So even though we lost to Phoenix, we came back in the locker room and said we got better that day. And then today was just a reflection of that. Our mindset has just been right, and it showed today.
The team defense was incredible, 31 points off of turnovers, and really you guys have been forcing turnovers all season long, but how were you able to disrupt everything that Utah was trying to do offensively?
We just got back to our principles. To start the season, we did this thing called Hawk, and it basically was us spreading our arms, and we just kind of got back to that. Just before they came down, pressuring them full court. It's just our mindset, and just a few things we changed, and it showed.
To get a couple of guys back, DA wasn't available tonight, but to have Malcolm back and Scoot back, does it feel like things are starting to settle down a little bit?
Yeah, no, it feels amazing. The energy has been great all year, even though the results haven't been what we wanted so far. Nobody has put their heads down. We have great vets in the locker room. The camaraderie is great, and we just know that it's going to change for us.
All right, big props to Jabari Walker. As I've said before, when youngsters understand what their role is, when they understand what their strengths are, and what they can do to best serve their team, they're going to get a chance to play. And Jabari Walker has put in the time. He continues to play with great energy. He's listening to what the coaches are asking him to do. and now it's starting to come to fruition on the floor. So I love seeing Jabari Walker. His energy throughout the course of the season so far has been terrific. He's been one of the key parts of this team off the bench to really spearhead their defensive effort, and that came together perfectly for him on Wednesday in that victory over the Jazz, which was nice. And after the game, Chauncey Billups had a chance to talk about Jabari's effort.
I am. I think I've said a ton, even coming into camp, coming out of camp, early in the season. Jabari's, the work that he put in from the end of last season throughout the summer is just, it was incredible, and you could see it every single night. The things that we talked about in our exit meeting that I needed him to get better in and at and pay attention to and get better everywhere, he just attacked it, man. He just attacked it, and it was quiet all summer, and he stayed on his grind. He did his thing, and most young players do feel that way. They feel like, all right, well, if I do everything that the coach said do, then that means that I'm going to be in the rotation, or I'm going to be, well, what they forget is there could be 10 other guys doing the same thing that the coach said do, and you still got to compete for minutes, in time. I think where Bari has an edge over a lot of people is he's such a gifted rebounder, and he's so competitive. He's one of our most competitive guys. He's tough as hell, and he's obviously playing for a coach that respects and loves and honors that.
All right, there you go. He took what the coaches wanted him to do, worked on it during the summer, and came ready to roll this season. And so far, Jabari Walker been one of the productive players for this Trailblazer team, and he had a career night on Wednesday. Now, one big area of improvement for the Blazers in that game against the Jazz, the offense, which has been the absolute worst in the NBA up until this point. They finally started to get shots to fall, and it made everything a lot easier. The Blazers on the night poured in 121 points. They were 51.1% shooting from the floor, and most importantly, 17 of 39 from downtown for 43%. The Blazers, worst offensive efficiency in the NBA, worst three-point shooting team in the NBA, but it came together, and Chauncey talked about the improvement from downtown.
I don't think so. I thought we did a good job of creating. I think we've been doing a really good job of creating open three-point shots. Just haven't been able to knock them down, and today, we had just several guys be able to knock shots down. I sat up here and talked after the Oklahoma game and said, man, we were playing some good defense. Their shot making was incredible. Our shot making tonight was incredible. It was just really good. You see how teams have been playing us, but now since, we're getting some of our guys back, teams, especially when we get Ant back, teams won't have to be able to play us the way that they've been playing us and getting away with it. We'll be able to start opening the game up a little bit, opening the floor up a little bit.
Yeah, no question. Scoot Henderson is back. We'll get to him. They got Malcolm Brogdon back, and Anthony Simons will be next. And having more talent on the floor, especially guys who can make shots, is going to be very helpful. Now, one thing we know about this team, whether it be Wednesday night against the Jazz or today against the Bucks or any game that's coming up on the schedule this season, for this team to be able to compete and to have a chance to win games, they're going to have to give an effort unlike the majority of teams in the NBA, because the Blazers are not deep enough, they're not talented enough, they don't have the shot making to be able to compete player for player. So they've got to outwork teams. They've got to be willing to sacrifice. It's going to require defense. I mean, they've got to pay attention to all the details, offensive rebounding, everything. They got to chase down loose balls. They've got to go over the top with their energy to make sure they put themselves in a position. And Chauncey talked about his team's effort coming out of the game against Utah.
It was just good to see the ball go through the basket for so many of our guys. It was great to have Scoot back out there. His picking up the basketball, his intensity out there, it just changes it. It just helps us. His pushing the basketball just helps us. Malcolm, obviously, you see, what Malcolm's able to do, just controlling the game. So many guys played well. I mean, Matisse was a one-man wrecking crew. I mean, it was just fun. There was a couple times where I'm like, man, I need to take him out, but damn, it's good watching this. I like seeing it. So I just didn't take him out. And then obviously Bari was incredible, man. Career highs and first double-double. We just had so many guys play well, and I haven't even talked about the 30 that Jeremy gave us. So many dudes played well, just collective effort on both ends of the floor.
One of the bright spots so far this season is that that's the type of effort the Blazers have been playing with. The difference on Wednesday that made it look so much better was the fact they made shots. But this team's been grinding throughout the course of the season, which has been nice. And you've heard me say this before, but it's multiple guys every night that are stepping up to contribute and make game-winning plays. And this game on Wednesday was no different, where the Blazers, they had every guy who had a chance to play make an impact. Tamani Kamara, He got the start, 27 minutes, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He was flying around and spearheading their defense. Jeremy Grant on fire, 5 of 6 from 3, 10 of 13 from the field. Game high, 30 points. DeWap Reef got in 20 minutes as a starter, filling in for DeAndre Ayton, who was out with a sore back. 8 points in 20 minutes of action for Reef, who has played well as a G Leaguer. Shaedon Sharpe, much better performance in the game Wednesday. 30 minutes, 6 of 11 shooting. He got his shooting touch back, 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. And Malcolm Brogdon, once again, steady. 20 points, 8 assists on 9 of 16 shooting. And he mentioned Matisse Thybulle. He was flying around. He was a freak on Wednesday. 31 minutes off the bench, 13 points, and just the overall energy. Defense, flying around, creating plays for his teammates, and then you get the 19 points and 10 rebounds off the bench from Jabari Walker. Multiple guys. And that's what it's about for this group. That's the way they've got to play. They've got to really come together as a team. And it's hard to do when you play so many games throughout the course of the regular season. And for the Blazers, the demand is so high for them if they want to compete and have a chance to win. Same thing goes, for today's game in Milwaukee. They can't sit back and just let the game come to them. They've got to force the issue. They've got to take advantage of teams who aren't willing to grind this early in the season. But I think Chauncey, if you're being honest, there are flashes from he and his coaching staff so far this year in terms of getting the guys to respond and play the way that he wants them to. And now as things continue to progress, what are we paying attention to? Incremental growth. We want to see the youngsters, namely Scoot and Shaedon, continue to develop at hopefully a high rate. We want to see the other youngsters, guys like Tamani Kamara and Jabari Walker, continue to develop and make the most of the playing time that they get. And then from there, what are the players doing on the floor? Are we seeing a definition in terms of what they want to do with offense? Are we seeing a definition and an improvement with what they want to do defensively? And how are those things coming together? Now, it's not going to be smooth because this team's not loaded up with talent, but you want to see improvements in those areas. And you know how the league works. It's tough to compete night in and night out against the teams with star power when you don't have a lot of shot makers or star power of your own. But you can make a lot of things happen in this league just by showing up, playing with effort, being willing to do all the little things that a lot of people don't want to do, communicating well, and defending. And if you do that, good things are going to happen. And what I like about this squad right now is that you see a very unselfish group. There's not someone out there looking to take all the shots. They're sharing the basketball, and that's a beautiful thing. In fact, in that game against Utah, a lot of good things. One, the turnovers. Just 14 turnovers on the night for the Blazers. So the Jazz only get 9 points off turnovers, but how about 31 assists? And a lot of that comes from guys just making shots, but 31 assists. 30 is the number where you want to be. The Warriors, who have been the most dominant team in basketball for, the last 9 years, their assist totals are usually up there right around the 30 mark, but that's a sign of sharing the basketball, moving bodies, moving the ball, and getting better looks. And the Blazers have to play that way because you've got to get guys in a position to where they can knock down shots. Don't be afraid to pass up one look for a better look for your teammate. So we'll see how things continue to develop, but I like it so far. All right, it's game day. Chad Doing and Chrris Burkhardt with you. We'll come back, and we'll hear from Dame as he gets ready to suit up against his former team. We'll hear from a couple of the players and coach on what it's like or what it will be like to go out and face Dame today. But that's what we got. Tip-off with the Blazers and Bucks is coming up at 12:30. Curtis Long will have your Trailblazer pregame show coming up at 11:30. You got 620 Rip City Radio. Happy Sunday morning, my friends.
It's time for a Blazers Game Day scoreboard report, powered by Columbia Heating and Cooling, raising your expectations of comfort.
All right, let's check the scoreboard. First off, in the NFL with the early action. First quarter in Atlanta, Saints lead the Falcons by a score of 3-0. First quarter in Cincinnati, Steelers and Bengals are scoreless. First quarter in Tennessee, Panthers and Titans are scoreless. The Buccaneers have an early 3-0 lead in Indianapolis over the Colts. First quarter in New York, the Patriots and Giants are scoreless. And first quarter down in Houston, the Jaguars have taken a 3-0 lead on the Texans. NBA scoreboard, what's coming up today? Well, first off at 12:30, it'll be the Trailblazers in Milwaukee to meet the Bucks. Dame's team favored by 13.5. 3 o'clock tip in Boston, the Hawks and Celtics. Boston favored by 7.5. Celtics are 12-4. Atlanta 8-7 on the year. And at 3 o'clock in New York, the Suns and Knicks. Phoenix is 10-6. Right now, New York sitting at 9-6. And the Knicks are favored by 3.5. 3 o'clock tip in Orlando, Hornets and Magic. Orlando favored by 6.5. And the Magic off to a very strong start this year, sitting at 11-5. 3 o'clock tip in Memphis, Timberwolves and Grizzlies. Minnesota, one of the hottest teams in basketball, at 11-4. Minnesota favored by 6.5. 4:30 tip in Brooklyn, the Bulls and Nets. Both teams under 500. Brooklyn favored by 4.5. 4:30 tip in Cleveland, Raptors and Cavs. Cleveland favored by 1.5, and both teams sitting at 500 at 8-8. And the later tip today, 5 o'clock in Denver, the Nuggets, an 11.5 point favorite over the San Antonio Spurs. Denver at 10-6, and the Spurs reeling right now at 3-13. And that is your scoreboard report here on Blazers Game Day. All right, as you know, the Blazers are going to be in Milwaukee, and Damian Lillard is now with the Milwaukee Bucks, which is wild. So it's going to be very bizarre to see him in the green and white taking on his former team, the Portland Trail Blazers. And Dame had a chance this week to talk about playing against Portland.
Not really. Like, I thought I would be anticipating it more, but I'm not really caught up into it. I think it'll be something that I think about more when we go back to Portland, But them coming here, it don't even feel like, it just feels like another game, where I'm going to see people that I used to spend a lot of time with. The team is really different. Obviously the staff is the same that I played for the last 2 years, but it's not, I don't think it'll be like a big deal or nothing like that, like it will be when I go back to Portland.
When the day comes, you don't think it'll sink in at that point, or?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I don't see it being that emotional of a situation. I don't. I'm gonna be like, man, I played for this team for a long time, but being here has opened my eyes to that more than anything. Just being on another team and being in the Eastern Conference and things like that. So it's not. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be a game where I wake up on the game day and be like, oh man, we playing the Blazers. Maybe when we go back to Portland, I'll be like, once I walk in the building, I used to go to work here every day, for 11 years. So I think when that happens, that's when I'll be like, I'm sure I'll see familiar faces there, and that'll kind of bring that up, but not here.
All right, there's Dame. Going up against Portland for him, as he said, not the same being in Milwaukee. It will be different when he returns to Portland at Moda Center, which is kind of his house. Now, Chauncey Billups had a chance to talk about the opportunity to play against Dame. Here's what he had to say.
It'll be fun, man. It'll be fun to see him. I think I've watched probably 2 or 3 of their games so far, but it's just going to be fun to have him out there. Obviously, it'd be weird, man, to be playing against Dame, and it's just weird game planning against him, having coached him for a few years. So I'm pretty sure most of our guys, it'll be weird for them too, but it'll be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good time.
All right, there's Coach Billups. He's looking forward to it. And what about Jeremy Grant?
Should be a good one. We know the type of team that they have, championship caliber team, so we got to come out ready to play. Definitely going to be, a lot of emotions, for organization and obviously playing against Dame and everything, but we got to come out and do what we need to try to get the win. He wants to win. He's a winner, and so, he brought me here in order to, try to win, so I always respect that. Still got a good friendship, so yeah.
All right, so far this year, 14 games in Milwaukee for Dame. He's averaging 25 points per game to go along with 6 assists and 4 rebounds. And like usual, 92% from the foul line. So Damian Lillard playing exactly the way you'd expect him to play. We'll see how things, shake out today. But the way Dame talked about this, Burkhardt, it kind of goes back to what you said last week with the Blazers and the Bucks. Dame said it himself that, the Blazers going to Milwaukee it's just like any other game, not that big of a deal. He did mention it will be different when he comes back to Portland at Moda Center, and you were talking about that too because we were trying to get an idea of what to expect from Dame today, and we both agree that he won't try to force the issue today. He'll just play it like any other game. He'll look for his spots like he's supposed to, and the rest of the guys will get involved. But I would expect when he plays the game here in Portland later in the year, he'll let his guys know ahead of time, and I'm sure there'll be an understanding that that's going to be a big, big night for Dame to put on a showcase in his former building. But today, yeah, it's just the Bucks and the Blazers. You buy into that?
Yeah, because it's hard to get up for the Blazers, right? When think about this, like, oh, Ant's not playing, right? Oh, you got Jeremy Grant there, but Scoot, okay, that's fun. Malcolm Brogdon, okay, that's cool. DeAndre Ayton, yeah, he wasn't here when I was there. Like, he's playing. Tamani Kamara, like it's not his Blazers, right? There's like nobody there outside of like Jeremy and Ant and Tease for a minute. But yeah, it's interesting for him. But when you get to Portland, Chad, then you get the fans, all the people in the building that all the front office staff, that everybody, and that's when I think that emotional part kicks in, and then you realize, yeah, this feels weird.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out today for the Blazers and Bucks. Portland right now sitting number 17 in the league in defensive rating. That game against Oklahoma City last Sunday really jacked up their rating a little bit, but they've been much improved defensively this year. Milwaukee is 22nd in the league in defensive rating. Now, a lot of people who just look at it on the surface are like, yeah, that's just Dame doing what he does, going to a team, not playing defense, and the team's defensive rating suffers as a result. From what I've been able to uncover from the people I've spoken with, it's more of a coaching issue than it is a Dame being on the Bucks issue. Adrian Griffin, who is a rookie coach, according to what I know, the defensive scheme that he had put into place before the year began in camp did not really match or fit with the personnel in his roster. And so he had to scrap that idea. And so they've switched up their defense a little bit. So we'll see how things look today on the floor. But, the Bucks are like any other team with a new coach and some new players. They're trying to figure things out. But if you take a look at the standings right now, the Eastern Conference, not too many surprises. Boston's sitting atop the East right now at 12-4. Orlando has won 6 straight games. They're 11-5. They're second, tied with Milwaukee and Philadelphia. So the 3 teams that we expect to be at the top of the conference, Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, they're all right there. And I think Boston and Milwaukee are the 2 best teams. I guess I'm surprised to a degree with the play of the Sixers so far. But I shouldn't be, because Nick Nurse is a heck of a coach, and what he's done is come in and he's provided a fresh voice with a new focus, and the guys have responded. And then on top of that, they unloaded James Harden, so they no longer have any headaches. There's no longer any uncertainty in terms of approach and focus and commitment. And so the guys are playing together. And it's much easier for them because they've got a cast of guys around Joel Embiid, so they just let him do what he does. He's the star, and these other guys, just add support around him. Boston's terrific. Milwaukee's going to be right there in the end because they've got star power. And they'll figure it out defensively, especially with Giannis. So I like what I see in the Eastern Conference. In the West right now, Minnesota, the surprise. They lead the Western Conference at 11-4. And Oklahoma City right now at 11-5 is second in the West. Dallas is third. Phoenix is fourth with Denver and Sacramento. So Denver came out of the gate on fire. They've struggled a bit over the last week and a half, but the Western Conference, exactly what we thought it would be. A bunch of teams that are going to feast on each other, and it's a very competitive conference, but much more definition in the Eastern Conference. We know who the contenders are. We know who the rest of the playoff teams probably are, but in the Western Conference, it's going to be a jumbled mess because if you go from all the way at the top with Minnesota all the way down to 10, or heck, go to 11 with the Clippers. Only 4 games separate the top 11 teams in the Western Conference. So it looks a lot like it did last year, where you have all of these teams separated by just a few games. And that's just the way that the league is set up now. The majority of star powers in the Western Conference. So you've got a lot more parity. In the Eastern Conference, you got 3 teams that will compete to come out and get to the finals, in my mind. Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia.
You know what's crazy is everybody thought Minnesota got fleeced.
Yeah.
Everybody thought Minnesota got fleeced in that deal. Look at all the assets they gave up to Utah. Rudy Gobert can't play next to Cat. They are playing good basketball. And Gobert is early on Defensive Player of the Year candidate. It's unreal what they're doing in Mini.
You're right. They look awesome. And Gobert, I know a lot of people don't like him. And there are a lot of players that don't like him, that would like to choke him out like Draymond did. But when you've got a player of that size on your roster with those type of defensive instincts, he's just a problem. And you know how it is with guys like that, Burkhardt. There are a lot of things that don't go down on the stat sheet, but when he's in there, think of all the shots that guy changes, because you have to be aware of where he's at and what he's doing. They're the surprise team so far in the NBA. I'm not surprised that Oklahoma City's off to a hot start because they've got young talent, but Minnesota, they were an afterthought going into the season. They did not cross my mind. Just Minnesota.
Yeah, and OKC's playing well, and we saw that coming too. But did anybody think you would look at this thing at the end of November and OKC and Mini would be the top 2 teams in the West? That's pretty wild.
Look at the young rosters. I don't know if you can compare them. The situations are different, but Orlando and Oklahoma City, 2 teams that have gone through the rebuilding process, acquiring assets, acquiring young talent, and finally able to get things back on track. We hope the Trailblazers in 3 to 4 years from now can be in a position where they've got just an embarrassment of riches when it comes to young players and assets, to where they can really, just continue to reshape the roster. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on Game Day. We're with you until 11:30. That's Chris Burkhardt. I'm Chad Doing. The Blazers and Bucks coming up at 12:30. And it's an NFL Sunday and championship weekend in college football. Washington and Oregon, 5 o'clock kick Friday night in Vegas for conference supremacy and potentially a berth in the college football playoff. How awesome is that going to be?
Yes! Booyah!
That's how good it's going to be. And, of course, the Oregon State Beavers now searching for a new coach. As Jonathan Smith jumps to the Big Ten and is now the head coach at Michigan State. That is crazy. My favorite part of that clip is the last part. What was that? I mean, I really legitimately feel bad for her, but that was not a good look.
No.
Why? But that's exactly what Beaver fans are saying. Think about that 12-hour stretch. You get whacked by Oregon in the Civil War and look lifeless. And the next day you get the news that Jonathan Smith is off to Michigan State.
I feel bad for him, man.
Oh.
That hurts.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And now you start to see what poor leadership can do. The school presidents and the commissioner, Larry Scott, and these buffoon presidents who gave Scott all that power, and then he just ran the conference into the ground. And as a result, the Pac-12 is no more, and Jonathan Smith probably felt like he had no choice but to jump ship. Hey, Coach, why'd you leave? My school doesn't have a conference. Oh. We don't even have a schedule for next year yet. Oh.
I firmly believe they're in a conference. They have leadership. They have finances. They have a direction. He doesn't go anywhere.
Especially East Lansing.
There's no reason. In a vacuum, maybe Michigan State's better, but to Jonathan Smith, no way.
He chose East Lansing.
It's wild.
That's not a good place to live.
I don't know. Never been.
That's painful. My heart hurts for that, too. All right, Game Day. Chris Burkhardt and Chad Doing here on 620 Rip City Radio.
Workstations. What's the Scoot is brought to you by Office Furniture Reborn. Need desks, better office chairs, or just the right file cabinet? Office Furniture Reborn has a huge selection of colors and sizes to choose from. So drop by Office Furniture Reborn's huge showroom just off Pacific Highway in 217 or visit www.officefurniturereborn.com.
Well, I, for one, am happy that Scoot Henderson is back on the floor and playing basketball for the Trailblazers after missing multiple games with a bone bruise. And most importantly, I'm looking forward to all the people complaining about Scoot and how he's not playing like an NBA All-Star this early in his career. But he made his return on Wednesday, came off the bench, played 16 minutes, had 3 points, 1 of 7 from the floor, 0 of 3 from downtown, but most importantly, 7 assists and 3 rebounds. And after the game, Chauncey Billups had a chance to talk about Scoot.
I thought Scoot was good. I thought his tempo was good. I thought he was a little rusty and, just hadn't played. He was a little indecisive out there, which happens, when you miss so much time. But his competitiveness, defensively and his push offensively, it fuels us. And picking that ball up, and it just fuels us. It really does. I thought his playmaking was pretty good. He was coming off making simple passes. See a guy in front, boom, just kick it. No need to do too much. So it was really good to have him back.
All right, Scoot Henderson is back, and we'll see his minutes continue to increase. But it's great to have him back. As I mentioned before, the most important element to this season for me is the development of Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. And in order for those guys to develop, they need to be on the floor, they need to be healthy, they need to be playing, and then, with that playing time, just continue to gather more experience. The game will slow down, and they can make the adjustment. But Scoot Henderson, I thought, did look pretty good. The shot making is going to continue to be an issue for him as he makes his adjustments. So I'm not worried about the shots and whether they go in or not. But what I'm watching for him is turnovers. Is he protecting the basketball? How's he dealing with the pressure from the defense that he's facing? And then decision-making. Is the game slowing down? Is he finding the windows and the opportunities for his passing and his playmaking? Those are the items I'm going to be paying attention to with Scoot. And I like his attitude. I like his willingness to listen to what the coaches want him to do and continue to press forward. And I've got confidence that this coaching staff is going to do a good job with him because I look at the other youngsters on the team. Shaedon Sharpe is making progress. Tamani Kamara's development has been terrific. Look at Jabari Walker and the work that he's done and the impact he's making now. So I'm excited to see more Scoot, and we'll continue to do that. But I want you to put yourself in his shoes for just a moment. He was their number 1 pick, number 3 overall in the NBA draft this past summer. He's taking over for Damian Lillard, arguably the greatest player in franchise history, depending on who you ask. And now he's going to be out there on the floor in Milwaukee seeing Dame today. That's crazy. That is going to be a surreal moment for Scoot Henderson, but I'm anxious to see how he responds to the moment. It's a great opportunity for him, and all of these situations, just one step, another step forward for Scoot, another piece of experience and opportunity for him, which is terrific. So I'm excited about all of it. And I did want to share this for you football fans out there with the Pac-12 championship game coming up on Sunday. Here is the lineup and what we're looking at now for championship weekend in college football. Friday night, ABC, 5 o'clock. Oregon will be at Washington. But it's down in Vegas. So it's at a neutral site. But this is the part that's crazy to me. Oregon is a 9.5-point favorite. Washington at 12-0 is the first team to run the table in the conference regular season since Oregon did it back in 2010. And they're the first team to go 12-0 in the regular season. This is the first undefeated team in Washington history since the 91 team that won the championship. Oregon, of course, has been on fire ever since they dropped that game to the Huskies up in Seattle. And they're a 9.5-point favorite. That's just awesome. I can't wait to see the game. We live for these type of moments. And you've got 2 guys who are competing for the Heisman Trophy in Bo Nix and Michael Penix. And don't forget about Jaden Daniels, who, according to Vegas, is now the odds-on favorite to win the award based on the ridiculous numbers he's putting up with LSU. Then on Saturday, Oklahoma State and Texas will play at 9 on ABC for the Big 12 championship. Texas sitting at 11-1. They've got the win in Alabama, so they're playing for a chance to get in the playoff. Oklahoma State trying to upend Texas and ruin their season and win the Big 12 championship in the final season of Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12. 9 a.m. on ESPN. You'll have the MAC championship at Ford Field, Miami of Ohio, and Toledo. 12 o'clock on Fox, Boise State and UNLV from Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, and the winner of that game will win the conference. UNLV's turnaround has been amazing. They've got a chance with the win to get to 10 wins. They're going to be bowl-bound, and Barry Odom is on the short list of potential candidates to take over for Jonathan Smith at Oregon State. And then at 1 o'clock, the SEC championship, Georgia and Alabama from the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. Georgia right now is a 5-point favorite. Georgia beat Georgia Tech last night, and Alabama's coming off that ridiculous victory over Auburn with one of the all-time plays. 4th down and goal from the 31, and Bama scores inside of a minute to win the game. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And explain this to me. Why'd they have a spy on Milroe, the quarterback, when he needed to get 31 yards and score? Explain that one to me. I have no idea what was going on there. 5 o'clock on Fox, Michigan and Iowa in the Big Ten Championship. You can add that to the list of games I will not watch because it's going to be offensively challenged. That's a hideous game. The Wolverines favored by 23, coming out to win over Ohio State. And on ABC at 5, Louisville and Florida State for the ACC title from Charlotte. FSU's favored by 4. They're coming out to win yesterday over Florida. They've got their backup quarterback in for Jordan Travis, who ripped up his leg last week. And Florida State, with the win, more than likely is playoff bound because they're unbeaten. You've got 4 unbeatens right now. Who are they? Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State. Hey, Burkhardt, how ridiculous was that throw by Milroe for Alabama?
It was pretty nasty.
And I've got to know, as a Duck fan, when you see that happen, you've got to be like, are you kidding me?
Oh, that was a gut punch because you needed that. You needed that loss to really feel like the door was open.
That would have secured Oregon's spot in the playoff if they were to beat Washington on Friday.
Yeah, because the worst case scenario is upon us.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Only thing I got to say about that, though, man, you're a football guy, too. You've been around this thing. Running a prevent defense and not putting any pressure on the quarterback at all, I think remains one of the worst defensive schemes in football. And I don't know why we run it. How many times in a game does a quarterback unleash a 30-yard pass, Chad, when you just run your basic defenses? Doesn't happen that often. Now, you know that you don't need a lot of help down low, so you can drop a couple guys a little bit deeper back, play some deeper zones. But to only rush 3 guys and give a quarterback all freaking day to find a guy, I think it's stupidity, especially when he only needs to make a 30-yard throw. That's nothing for a college quarterback.
Why were they spying the quarterback? It's not like he's going to take off and scramble for a 31-yard touchdown when he has to get in the end zone.
That guy should have blitzed in, put pressure.
Well, what about this? In that spot, don't you think that if they were to run a full-scale blitz, like a full-scale, just all-out blitz, where you drop 3 or 4 guys back, if you force Milroe to have to launch in like 2 seconds, the chances of them completing it are pretty slim.
The only way he gets that ball out in a catchable spot is if he puts a ton of air under it, right?
Yeah.
And the longer that ball stays
Advantage
in the air,
defense.
yeah, the longer that defense can adjust to where the ball is. That's why the traditional Hail Mary doesn't work that often, because it's usually from 50 plus out, right? And so he has to put a ton of air under it. By the time the ball lands, there's 5-6 defenders there to try to bat it. How he ended up basically getting like one-on-one. It was a beautiful pass. You got to give him credit because he put it right where his receiver needed it. But that was a terrible defensive play call.
Okay, so here's the doomsday scenario that no one thought was going to happen, but now it looks like it's going to potentially happen. Okay. Texas is going to beat Oklahoma State more than likely. FSU will beat Louisville. So now you're looking at Michigan, who's not going to lose to Iowa. So here's the issue now for Oregon. If they beat Washington, you absolutely need Georgia to handle their business and beat Alabama. Because if Alabama beats Georgia, and Texas wins and Florida State wins, Oregon's not going to get in. It's just not going to happen. Because you're asking the committee to do a couple of things that are very unlikely. One, they're not going to move Georgia out of the playoff. If Georgia's number 1 and they lose to Bama, they're not going to drop to number 5. Now, we can debate on who's going to be number 1 on this coming week. Is it going to be Michigan coming out to win over Ohio State? Will it be Georgia? I don't know. But if Alabama also wins, Texas with 1 loss in the Big 12 championship's got the win at Alabama. They're probably going to get in. They're not going to not put Florida State in if they're unbeaten. It's just all sorts of chaos.
The only thing on that, though, is everyone has kept arguing that Texas has the best win because they beat Bama. However, if Oregon gets the win in that championship game, they're beating a current top 4 college football playoff team, and that is a major big win. So that one might weigh heavily there as well. And if Georgia comes into this thing at 2, say Michigan does jump them, then there is a little bit of a chance that Georgia could fall out, but not number 1. Chaos, baby. Give me that 12-teamer next year, please.
Right now, the only sure bet for the Pac-12 is Washington. That's the only sure bet.
Yeah, because they're going to be in the top 4 likely still, right?
Probably number 3.
Yep, and if they win undefeated, you can't leave an undefeated conference champion out.
All right, here's my prediction on the rankings. Georgia's going to be number 1. Michigan's going to be number 2. Washington will be 3. Florida State will be 4. Oregon will be 5.
Yeah, I like that.
Texas 6. Alabama 7. Depending on where they put Ohio State.
Yeah, I do think it would be really terrible at this point if Oregon has had that edge on Texas this entire time. If Oregon went and beat Washington in that game, a team that, like you said, likely number 3 in the ranking, they beat them and win the conference championship, and Texas somehow jumps them, I think that's a terrible look for the CFP.
That's true.
Like you've been behind them all year in every single ranking, and then they get this giant win in their conference championship, and then you still jump them. Like, if the Alabama win weighed that much, maybe they should have jumped them earlier. I don't know. It's chaos, baby.
That's what I was saying. I don't. But it may not be Texas. It could just be Georgia.
Yeah. Well, you need to happen, and I think it could happen because they're not playing the same without that quarterback. But Louisville, even though they lost to Kentucky, I think they can beat Florida State.
Here's where the advantage plays in for Texas. Right now, their strength of schedule, number 2.
Yeah.
That's going to be the edge. And Oregon's just down the line when it comes to strength of schedule. That's the problem.
Which, again, is just terrible, though, because the Pac-12 was a gauntlet, which does make what Washington did incredibly impressive, right?
I agree. But right now, Oregon, 59th in strength of schedule. Yeah, that's going to work against
it. It was a gauntlet, and then it ate itself like we all kind of thought it would.
Okay, so before we get back to basketball real quick, is Georgia going to beat Alabama?
I think so.
Probably.
I think so. They're clicking, and they got out of the gate slow against Georgia Tech, but a little bit of an in-state rivalry there, obviously, and they took care of business, though.
I just have so much respect for Nick Saban in these type of spots right here. Mm-hmm. And I love him yesterday because they won a ridiculous game. He was bitter after the game, just bitter.
That's Saban.
He didn't smile. He wasn't happy. He's like, hey, I appreciate my guys being resilient, and they made a heck of a play. And then he listed off like 10 things that he was really ticked off about. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
These are the type of weekends we live for, man. That's going to be a wild 12 hours, too. Friday night, Pac-12 title game, into all of the chaos that could take place on Saturday.
Yeah.
If Oregon wins, you, as a Duck fan, will be paying attention to that SEC title game like never before.
Oh, my gosh. Unreal. You always argue. We had this argument a while back with Alabama, and I'm with you. I want to see the 4 best teams. Like I thought, I didn't want to see TCU in the playoffs. I didn't think they were good enough to win it all. They weren't. I want to see the 4 best teams. So if you're not ranking on current resume and all that, you want just the 4 teams playing the best football. Who are your 4?
It's a great question. I tried to go through last night and honestly say who I think the 4 best teams are. Georgia, I am convinced. I mean, dude, they're 12-0 to start a year for the 3rd consecutive year.
Unbelievable.
That alone is an argument that, like, yeah, even if we lose to Bama, we deserve to be in. We've been 12-0 for 3 consecutive years. Say what you want. That's unbelievable. So, yeah, Georgia's right up there. Michigan. They bother me, but I'm convinced that they're probably one of the 4 best teams in the country. Their resume is pretty weak, but their talent level is extremely high, and they're a physical FU type of football team. That final drive, they just choked out Ohio State. It was impressive. And this is where it gets challenging. I would probably take Alabama and Oregon.
That would be my 4. The 4 teams playing the best right now. That would be my 4 in that order.
If I the 4 teams that I truly think are the best teams: Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, and Oregon. Now, what makes this difficult is here's the issue. I try to, like, these Pac-12 teams. Like, I want to believe that Oregon and Washington are both 2 of the 4 best teams in the country, but then I try to imagine them playing like SEC teams. Like, I think Oregon might be really awesome. But when they line up against Georgia, they might prove to me that they're just a team that's looked great feasting off of crap competition for the last 5 weeks. That's possible.
Yeah.
Because the SEC is just a different breed. Like Georgia, I still can't believe the disrespect they get. 12-0 for the 3rd straight year, and we act like they're just not that good.
Yeah. They breed them down there. Saban walks into his local general hospital, and he's like, hey, I hear you're getting a checkup here. You're 8 months pregnant. I'd like to offer your son a scholarship.
Yeah,
Walk-on opportunity.
So here's my rough estimate with Oregon. I think Oregon can beat anybody in the country minus Georgia. I think they can beat Michigan. I think they can beat Washington. I don't think that's a done deal on Friday, by the way. I just think that when Georgia lines up against Michigan or Washington or Oregon, I think that that's where you're going to be like, reminded once again, oh, yeah, they're just better because of talent, especially at the line of scrimmage. Like, you think you have a good line of scrimmage until you play Georgia, and you're like, oh, they just turned us into a prison movie again. That's cool.
Right.
So but that would be my 4. Because I got to be honest with you, I don't care about your conference championship. Like, Texas winning the Big 12 means nothing to me. Sorry. Whoopity-doo. I mean, Michigan's got to play Iowa in the Big 10 title game. That doesn't matter. I don't care about your conference championship. I don't care about your resume or your strength of schedule. Just give me the 4 best teams. That's all. Like, Cincinnati getting in a couple of years ago is a joke. They're not one of the 4 best teams in the country. But they put them in because of the outcry and the resume nonsense. I want the 4 best. So I'd be happy with that. Bama, Oregon, Michigan, and who was the other team?
Oregon.
Georgia.
Bama, Oregon, Georgia, Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That's why the 12 team. And, dude, college football, I now know, coming off this weekend, like, it's my favorite sport right now. It's in my number 1 hole for sure. The 12-team playoff is only going to make things better. All these, I know it is because all the liars who said the BCS was a good idea lied. The 14 playoff was not enough. The 12-team playoff is going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. More teams involved, more fan bases with something to cheer for. It's going to be great. We're not going to look back and be like, oh, they shouldn't have done that.
No.
All right. We had to get that football off our chest. This is a big week. Like, Chris, you're in rare form right now. Your 49ers are on fire. Mm-hmm. The Oregon Ducks are playing for conference supremacy. Because, dude, like, think about what's at stake for you as a Duck fan. Like, winning on Friday and potentially getting to the playoff is great. But losing on Friday and knowing that your only 2 losses on the year came to Washington, that you can't think of a worse scenario than that.
No.
The stakes are so high.
As a fan, I can't.
Lose to the Dogs twice because you know exactly what they're thinking. And I know what an Oregon fan thinks. Everyone's like, well, it's hard to beat a team twice. Well, if that was the case, why did Utah beat Oregon twice and then USC lose to Utah twice? It can happen. But the opportunity is so big. And I know what Washington's thinking. Like, they want to win so they can be like, see, you thought that we got you twice, so shut up. And Oregon can say, look, Our field goal kicker missed a kick. He's terrible. We should have beaten you the first time,
Mhm.
and now we proved it.
And like you said, it's not a sure thing. People are dogging the dogs, no pun intended, because they've looked ugly ever since the Oregon game.
Yeah.
But good teams win ugly games, man. Like those are games that lesser teams lose, but they find ways to win them, and that's a scary thing too. So it's going to be a fight.
I hate college football because it's a beauty contest. All I know is that going unbeaten, 12-0 through the Pac-12, if it were so easy, more teams would have done it.
Yeah.
It's the first time a team's gone unbeaten in the regular season in 13 years. It's the first time Washington's done it since 91. There's something to be said about teams that find ways to win games. That's all. It's tough. Even Oregon needed a couple of ugly wins along the way to go unbeaten in 2010.
Mhm.
How about the game at Cal? Did they look good in that game?
Mm-mm.
No, but they found a way to win on a ridiculous, 20-minute drive to end the game.
Yeah.
Good teams find ways, Is it like Nick Saban, his teams always seem to get the benefit of the doubt in those tight moments? And part of that's luck, but a part of that's coaching too. Doing the right things. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I'm excited, man. This is a good week. And it all starts here at 12:30 with Dame going up against the Portland Trail Blazers. It would be kind of nice to see the Blazers go in there and get the win. It means nothing this early in the season, but that would be kind of nice to see Chauncey get over on Dame.
It would also be great if this were the game that Scoot Henderson clicks. He throws up 25 points, 12 assists, and just goes ham. This. Oh my! It would be great.
You're right. I haven't considered that, but you're right. If he plays extremely well and the Blazers win, gosh, Blazer fan would love that. That would be awesome.
Dream scenario. It comes down to a last-second shot, balls in Dame's hands. Scoot gets the steal.
It's a new era for a reason. Dame would hate that.
Yes.
Hate. Oh, it's good. All right, we'll keep things rolling here. Curtis Long's coming up at 11:30 with your Trailblazer pregame show. You got me all excited. It's too early on a Sunday. We got too much going on this week. I got too excited. Oh, that's good. It's good. Good. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. Blazers and Bucks coming up at 12:30 here on 620 Rip City Radio.
You want the truth? It's time for the Coors Light Cold Hard Facts, presented by Frost Brewed Coors Light, made to chill.
All right, first off, all this hate on Dame and his defense, it's got to stop. He's on the right team with the right support around him. The problem is he's got a coach that doesn't know what he's doing. I don't think Adrian Griffin is the right call for the Bucks, and he's proven that so far with already having to shift and change his defensive philosophy and system with the roster that he has. So don't throw the Bucks under the bus. They're going to be just fine. They're 22nd in the league in defensive rating right now. Plenty of time to improve. And again, keep in mind, new team, new faces, new head coach. It takes time to come together. These things don't happen overnight. Just like with Scoot Henderson, you don't just jump in the league and start dominating from the start. It takes time to figure it out. Even with Victor Wembanyama, the Spurs right now are in a dreadful stretch. He's going to be there and he's going to be dominant, but it takes time. Just like it's going to take time for the Bucks, but I have no doubt they're going to be right there in the end with Boston playing for a chance to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. I don't know if he's the MVP, but you've got to make the case right now that Jabari Walker has been one of the most impactful trailblazers so far this season. He's played well. He's done everything the coaches have asked, and just his overall focus and the way he's playing right now, it blows me away. I mean, the guy is all over the place. Just take a listen to Chauncey Billups talking about Jabari Walker coming off the career night, 19 points, 10 rebounds.
I am. I think I've said a ton, even coming into camp, coming out of camp, early in the season. Jabari's, the work that he put in from the end of last season throughout the summer is just, it was incredible, and you could see it every single night. The things that we talked about in our exit meeting that I needed him to get better in and at and pay attention to and get better everywhere. He just attacked it, man. He just attacked it, and it was quiet all summer, and he stayed on his grind. He did his thing, and most young players do feel that way. They feel like, all right, well, if I do everything that the coach said do, then that means that I'm going to be in the rotation, or I'm going to be, well, what they forget is there could be 10 other guys doing the same thing that the
Boom. Love his work, love the impact he's having on the team, and he's been one of their best players so far this year. I did not think I would be saying that when the season began. Here's another fact. The San Antonio Spurs need to put Greg Popovich out the pasture, all right? He had his run. He won his championships, but the old man has lost it. When you start picking up microphones and try to encourage your fans not to boo because they don't like Kawhi Leonard, you need to shut it down. And by the way, he's been stealing money from the Spurs for like the last 4 seasons. What have they done? Besides lose a ton of games. And by the way, they got Victor Wembanyama, and they've lost 11 straight games. What exactly is that guy doing? At some point, you have to stop paying people off of what they did in the past and pay them for what they're doing in the current time. What are you doing right now? Not much. Being an old bitterman who's got a God complex that likes to get on the microphone now at games and tell fans not to boo. All because he feels guilty that he ran Kawhi out of town because he thought he should be playing, but Kawhi and his doctor said, no, I'm not right. So he got his team to pressure Kawhi. It went badly, and he left town. That's on Pop, not Kawhi. The old man's crazy. You can't pick up microphones and tell the crowd not to boo. If they're throwing stuff on the floor that could potentially harm people around them in the stands or on the floor, that's one thing. But booing? Because that's not who we are. Greg Popovich has been an a-hole almost his entire career. He doesn't like the media. He doesn't like to deal with questions. He's real bristly. The guy's an a-hole. That's all. And he's telling people, don't boo because that's not who we are. No, that's exactly who you are, Pop. An old bitterman now who's lost it, and you're an a-hole, and you've lost 11 straight, and now you're rambling like some old grandpa into the microphone at the arena. That's not good coaching. That's not being a Hall of Famer. That's just called you being an old crazy man. All right? You got to shut it down, bro. Lay off the sauce, or please just retire. You're stealing money from the Spurs. It's an embarrassment. You've got Victor, and you've lost 11 straight. Stop yelling into the microphone, you old man. I don't like bittermans that just ramble off into microphones randomly. And look at his record over the last few years. Oh, but he's one of the best coaches of all time. Yeah, now he's just a rambling grandpa that needs to be laid out to pasture. What a crazy old coot that guy is. Please shut up, Pop. I don't care about your take on the world. I don't care about your take on politics. I don't care about your take on whether I should boo or not. I just want you to try and do something with your team. You got Victor Wembanyama. God blessed your franchise with another franchise player. And what are you doing with it right now besides nothing and just being Bitterman? Oh. Okay. Let's keep things rolling. We're going to come back. We will give you our keys to the game. Curtis Long's coming up at 11:30. Tip-off with the Blazers and Bucks. And Dame coming up at 12:30. Was this Mr. Rogers music? Oh,
no. Did it just for you.
Oh, my gosh. It's that time of year again. Just when we need another whiny.
I had to do it to you because the other day I got home from work and my daughter's like, Dad, you got to listen to this new song we just heard. We love it. It's so good.
No, she didn't.
Yeah. Sorry to everyone who has one. They're like, Alexa, play All I Want for Christmas. I was like, no.
There are some really bad Christmas songs, like really bad ones, like Feliz Navidad. But Mariah Carey should not have done this. Oh,
yeah, she should have. She makes millions every year off this.
Good for her.
Yeah.
I hate this song.
I'm a big fan of Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer myself.
Oh, my skin is crawling. I really hate you right now, Burkhardt. What is the worst Christmas song of all time? That's a good question right there.
We'll debate later.
Oh, gosh. Where was I at yesterday? I was somewhere out in public yesterday, and there was Christmas music playing. I was like, oh, great. And I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not trying to go Greg Popovich or anything, but if I were in an arena and they were playing this during the game, I would get on the microphone and tell them to stop playing this song. You got Game Day.
Now, back to Blazers Game Day, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, made to chill.
Boy, Burkhardt, that's some good guitar work right there.
Kirk knows what he's doing.
I love kids discovering things that are old like they're brand new. Hey, Dad, just come take a listen to this song we just discovered like it's brand new. Isn't that amazing? Just reminds you of how old you are.
Yeah.
I'm sure your daughters are like mine. They're on YouTube or TikTok like 100% of the time.
All the time.
Yeah, that's what they do. I wish I would have had that when I was younger. We actually had to deal with commercials, those kind of things.
Right.
On demand was not even a thing.
Remember getting a cassette tape and waiting an hour for your favorite song to play on the radio again?
Yeah. I would call radio stations and be like, dude, can you play this song? Like, we just played it. It will come up next hour. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Or you would hear it, or you'd have to run into your room and you wouldn't get it right on time.
Yeah. Or you have a DJ that wouldn't shut up and talks over the intro guitar riff because there's no words yet.
No, you got to hit the post, you moron. I don't want your mouth over my song. I would have it set. I would have the play and record down and on pause. So, I mean, it would just be a one-click process.
Oh, yeah.
Because the two-finger push and the timing on that it had to be perfect.
Had to be perfect.
Kids have no idea what that's all about. You just have to put Scotch tape over the top of those tapes to record tape? Yeah. Yeah, you got a problem with that? All right, if you're driving around, let me give you an update on the NFL scores so you don't have to look at your phone and drive at the same time. It's very dangerous. Right now, the Falcons on top of the Saints, 14-9, second quarter down in Atlanta. The Bengals and Steelers in a scoring fest right now, 7-3 as they approach halftime in Cincinnati. Bengals with the lead. Titans on top of the Panthers, 14-3. With just under 2 minutes to go, second quarter. 4 minutes to play first half in Indianapolis. Colts on top of the Bucs, 17-10. Giants lead the Patriots 7-0. Hideous. And the Jaguars lead the Texans 13-7 down in Houston. Ugh. Oh, that's bad football. I don't like bad football. I like offense. I like teams that score points. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm sure Burkhardt's the same way. Oh my goodness. It's a big week. I got to pace myself. It's too much sports. It's too much. It's too much going on right now. Too much. This college football stuff is the best. And I mean, that's why I keep thinking about this NBA in-season tournament. You can try whatever trick you want. The reality is that the NBA is not going to be at the forefront of everyone's mind until after Christmas. Because there's too much going on. Too much football. Too many other sports. Too many options. You got to let these other sports die off and have their seasons, and then people tune in and start watching NBA basketball. That's what's going on.
Yeah, that's probably why the NBA was like, oh, we got to schedule Sunday games. Let's schedule Blazers Bucks on Sunday. Give them a chance.
Because, dude, I'm just like you. I'm a sports fan. So I just always judge what is my mind thinking about. So when I woke up today, I was intrigued by the idea of the Blazers and Bucks playing and getting a chance to see Dame. But that's not at the top of my mind. I can't wait for Friday. Oregon and Washington is at the top of my mind. What Alabama did against Auburn yesterday is at the top of my mind. Is Alabama going to give Georgia a test in the SEC title game? That's on the top of my mind. What's happening in the NFL today? Those are things that are on top of my mind, and that's because that's just football. And then basketball, not at the top right now. Once we get past Christmas and the season starts to take shape, then I'll have more focus on hoop. That's just the way the sports calendar works.
All I'm thinking about is Friday. My sister texted me yesterday. You work Friday? I said, hey, it's me. I always work. But why?
I do like that about you. You always remind people that you work.
It's nonstop. But she's like, oh, I was thinking about taking grandma out to dinner so we could go see the Christmas ships. And I was like, Friday? She's like, yeah, what am I missing? I'm like, duck game. And she's like, oh, I forgot. I'm like, you forgot? That's all I've been thinking about since the game ended.
This is how big that game is on Friday. So a couple of weeks ago, I owe this stupid Godfather dinner because of some bet I lost at El Gaucho, which is like the Godfather's favorite place to eat. So Friday was going to be the day.
Groucho, I get it.
El Groucho. So we're talking yesterday, and then we just realized, like, oh, El Gaucho on Friday. That's not happening. So we're changing it to, we're moving it out a couple of weeks because, and you find out Godfather's going down to Vegas too. So he's going to go down to the game.
Oh!
He's going to the game.
I've debated. I mean, I deserve it. I had to sell my Civil War tickets.
That's right. Because what the Godfather thought, he's like, wait a second. I don't have to work on Thursday because there's an early Blazer game. And he's like, I've got all these points. So he's going to fly down. And he already got the press pass, so he's all set. He's going.
Got a presser. Oh, lucky.
So I said, old man. I said, I didn't say old man, but hey, Pop, why don't you go to the game. You can call in and do a little live hit from the show. That's what sucks about doing a show from 3 to 6, because on Friday, right around 5 o'clock, the audience will go to zero as everyone tunes into the Pac-12 title game. That's just the reality of it. So that's how that went down. So if the Godfather is ejecting out of El Gaucho, that tells you how big that game is. It's pretty simple.
That's big.
If the Godfather's turning down El Gaucho, that's big time right there. All right, keys to the game coming up next. Curtis Long standing by. I talked with him this morning. He was extra chirpy and happy this morning. So whatever you're gonna get from Curtis is gonna be amazing. The principal is standing by. I've got keys to the game with Chris coming up next, and tip off with the Blazers and Bucks coming up at 12:30. All right, keys to the game for me. I'm going to keep it pretty much online with what I've been talking about recently. Number one, ball security. The last couple of games, the Blazers have been much better in the turnover department, and they need to continue that today in Milwaukee. The reason's pretty simple. As I mentioned before, the Blazers don't have the talent or the shot making to be able to overcome a lot of mistakes and still have a chance to win a game. So, again, they've got to pay attention to detail, value possessions, and protect the basketball. Also, rebound as a team. They've got to continue to have that effort. It all goes back to that team effort deal and their willingness to sacrifice and do whatever it takes to fly around. Just like we saw with Matisse Thybulle off the bench on Wednesday. He was a freak. They need more of that type of freakiness today But the rebounding is critical because the Blazers are a poor shooting team, as I mentioned before, the worst three-point shooting team in the league, worst offense in the league. They're not good offensively, which means they're going to miss shots. So they've got to be willing to rebound and work as a unit together to do that. And when you can create opportunities on the offensive glass, it allows you to overcome a poor shooting percentage and still get some points. I would say the other issue today, and this is something that we've seen pop up on the road, be aggressive early. Attack, 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 and don't settle. And let the officials know that you're there to play and you're not jacking around. Because if they can set the tone early, they can hopefully get the benefit of the doubt with the whistle and even out some of the free throw numbers. And that's kind of what I'm looking at today. And then my wish for today is exactly what Burkhardt mentioned. Scoot to outplay Dame and show him up on the floor. Milwaukee Trailblazers win. That'd be the great storyline.
It'd be so good.
All right, what are you looking for today? Anything special in Milwaukee? Just get me to Friday, please.
Yeah, just get me to Friday. Just get. You know what? Maybe they should make an exceptions. No coach allowed to take timeouts. Just get through this game. I can go home. I can go to bed. I can kill a couple hours that way. I just want to get to Friday.
Oh, it's going to be so good. All right, the principal, Curtis Long, is standing by. Travis Demers and Michael Holton will have the call from Milwaukee. The Blazers, just a little reminder, this is the first of 5 straight games on the road. And if you're looking for W's, the schedule that's upcoming for the Trailblazers is very daunting. Portland sits at 4-11. Their win on Wednesday snapped an 8-game losing streak. But the problem is the quality of opponent that's coming up on the schedule is going to be tough. Milwaukee today. Tomorrow, second of a back-to-back in Indiana against the Pacers. That's a 4 o'clock tip. Thursday in Cleveland against the Cavaliers. Saturday, December 2nd in Utah against the Jazz. And they finish up the road trip Monday, December 11th in Los Angeles against the Clippers. So it's going to be a tough stretch. All right, that's going to do it for us. That's Chrris Burkhardt. I'm Chad Doing. Curtis Long's got your Trailblazer pregame show coming up next. Tip-off's at 12:30. If you're wondering what I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be multitasking between the Trailblazers and Denver Broncos. And then Chris and I will be back after the game for the 5th quarter to break everything that goes down today. In the very first Scoot v. Dame matchup. Can't believe I'm saying that. All right, enjoy the game, my friends. We'll talk to you on the 5th.
Let's get out of here!